Let me just summon the creative juices and we'll just hit this first take right out of the park. You have no idea the hell it is to edit my voiceovers. So you're gonna get like an inside look at how horrible I am at this. Okay. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Sweet Talk podcast. I'm your host, Sweet Lou Photography, and I'm joined today by a great friend and one of my favorite YouTube creators ever, Knoptop, my friend Dave. He is a video DIY YouTube legend. Thank you so much for joining me, man. How's it going?
It's going good. Thanks for having me sit in front of my computer remotely.
Dude, hell yeah. One day we'll have like a studio and we'll be able to be together in person, but right now this is the best I can do.
Yeah, no, I totally. And I've done like remote calls or like podcasts and stuff like this before. I always try to make them as comfortable as possible because I'm like, man, if I can just have it be like a phone conversation, because you and I have talked on the phone a few times. We have some good conversations. So I think I got a pretty good setup. We'll see. We'll see how comfortable I get.
Dude, I feel like you are one of my favorite like car talk buddies. Like a long drive, call Dave.
Oh, yeah. We cover a good overview of topics.
Hell yeah, man. So it's January, of course, the famous month of bad movies and New Year's resolutions and all that jazz. So I wanted to take today to talk a little bit about our creative endeavors. That's kind of what this podcast and my whole channel is focused around, the idea of creating and the process and loving it, whether it's photo, video, whatever the case may be. So what was 2019 like for you, man? Like what worked and what didn't work so much? What stuff you're proud of?
All right, 2019. Let's think back to the good old days. So for me, it was I moved. I was living in Virginia, and then I moved to Ohio, and so that was a pretty big thing. It was about halfway through the year I did that, and so if you've ever moved before, there's, at least for me, it was like there's a ramp up, if you understand what I'm saying, where you have to get ready to leave, and then you have to unload everything when you land. So I had not tons of stuff. I just a little apartment I lived in, but I let myself sort of take months and months to pack up. So anyways, all that to say, a lot of that sort of was my excuse to kind of be a lot less productive than I wanted to. But I still did a couple little projects. I think it was definitely an amazing year because of one project that I did that I just woke up one morning, and it was the Banksy Art Museum, a Fiasco. If any of you are familiar with it, basically.
Dude, I love that video.
Yeah, the artist Banksy, he does this street art over in Europe and everything. And I saw this article on Twitter, and it came through, and it said this guy had this art piece auctioned off, and as soon as it auctioned off, it just shredded itself. And I'm like, it just blew my mind. So I'm like, this is real life. Like this is the kind of stuff you see in movies, like in my mind. And it just sparked this, like, I don't know what it was, but I was just like so inspired. So I'm like, it reminded me of an old magic trick I remembered from when I was a kid where you could shred a dollar bill. And I'm like, I'm going to make a miniature one. Anyway, so it was completely off topic of the usual filmmaking stuff, but I'm like, this is such a neat thing. Anyways, but the reason it was so like monumental for me was I remember that whole day I just completely invested in working on this little project. I made a little miniature replica of this shredding poster or painting, and then I went and made a video about how I made it. And it was one of those things where I was like, that's it. It was like the only time the whole year that I actually completely responded instantly to my like enthusiasm, and I didn't put it off. And even though I even chatted with a couple of my friends, and one of my friends was like, yeah, I don't know, man. Are you going to spend your whole day doing that? I mean, whatever. Is that what you want to be known for? Like, and I'm like, oh, forget it. I'm not listening to anybody. So it was like I did exactly like what all the big gurus say. I blocked out the haters, and I just did this thing. And so that was the major one where it was really fun just to be able to create it. And it got a little bit of buzz. So there was a little bit of, I guess, ego boost because I posted it to Instagram the next day. And it was probably like the only Instagram thing I've ever posted that's actually gotten like a lot of views, where it was just like, I think I gained like 1,000 followers in that following week. It was insane.
That's huge. That's awesome, man.
And that's the thing where it was like this kind of superficial buzz, but I was like, whoa, and what do I do with all these followers? Like, now what do I post? And so then goes back to, so it was a learning experience too, because after that buzz wore off, I'm like, wait, I got a bunch of new followers, but now what do I give them? What do I give these people? In the sense of like, I'm all about that, starting with why, where I let that topical thing of like, I'm getting tons of people noticing my stuff. And then I didn't really think about making more stuff after that, but had to get ready for the move. Anyways, so yeah, that was probably the most pivotal thing. What about you?
I feel like I'm in this weird place because I upload once a week now that if I think back to like videos from January of last year, it's like hazy. Like I gotta like rewatch them because like it's such a grind to just do it and get it out there and then it's done. So I mean it's awesome. I love the fact that I do have like this momentum going and like I feel like absolute shit if I like miss a week or something, or even if it's like, oh, it's Wednesday and I haven't started my video yet. Like I feel like shit about that. But in terms of like stuff I'm really proud of, I'm definitely proud of the egg video. Because that was just like kind of like the same vibe like you were saying about like just kind of waking up and having this idea. Like I saw this other YouTuber, I mentioned him in the video too, the Matt Johnson, and he like cracked an egg in his video and fried it on the Ari, and my brain was just like, did he fake that? Or is that real? So just immediate, it was like, hey, let's just bother my friend Chris and get a bunch of lights from him and just start making this dumbass video. And so that was really cool. And the other thing that I'm really proud of is every year my friend Keith and I, who's been on the channel a bunch of times, we enter the My Road Reel Film Festival because, you know, apart from Sweet Lou Photography and doing all this photo and video stuff, we're filmmakers. Like we like making films, and that's something I always do on that other channel. So we enter the My Road Reel Film Festival every year. We've been doing it since 2015. And our going thing is, oh, every year we enter, every year we don't win. And this year we won. So 2019, we took an award home for this little horror movie that we made. Ironically, largely due to Dave here, because you made that video about VHS cam. And that's kind of what put me onto the app. And right when I made my review video of it, I called Keith and I was like, dude, we got to do something with this app. So you're actually a big part of why we won that award. So full circle.
You mentioned that, and I guess I never really thought about it because like as months go on and weeks and stuff, but that is so crazy. So that would be another example. Did I make that video last year?
I think so, yeah. Because I feel like that was like right around when we started talking too. Like I don't remember exactly when we started talking to each other, but I feel like it was like around then.
Well, and it's so weird, and like I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but like the idea of just responding to those first like motivational like thoughts you might have to do something. And I know that's sort of my slogan on my YouTube channel, go make something. But like for me, you know, on a personal level, it's like every day I wake up, I'm like, I just want to like, I let things get in the way and distract me. And because it's a lot of work to sit down and really buckle down to make a completed video, you know, especially if you have a vision for it. But that video with the VHS was one of them that it was on my mind for a long time. And one day I was just driving. I'm like, I'm just going to go do it. And I shot the whole thing on my phone. Like all of, like literally even the main part of it, which
right,
for me
like
was
the
always,
B-roll and stuff.
Yeah. And it's been such a big deal for me to be like, I got to get the right camera, And I'm thinking, I even rewatched that video and I was like, this turned out pretty good. And I don't think there was anybody that had anything to say about the main camera. This is the front facing camera. It was 720 up-res to 1080 for the video, I think. And I'm like, even though I'm still doing it and even hearing like stories like that, like I'm affecting people and I still get caught up with, but I still need a better camera that can do something cooler. And I'm like, I'm walking around with my phone everywhere I go. If I would just clear out some memory, I could probably shoot a lot more videos. But anyways, that's awesome though. Side note, I don't think I mentioned in the video, but like I literally did research. I mean, I have like 6 different VHS apps on my phone and I was testing them all constantly. I was doing like, and then they finally did this latest update where you could upload image videos to it. And I was like, okay, that's it. This is like the best one, period. But yeah, that's Retrovision, I think. Retrovision.
Yeah. I actually, I started using that for Crapshoot on this channel too. Like the most recent one I just did all the B-roll, everything on VHS cam, and a couple of people were like really complimenting the look of it. And to me, it's so awesome to use the phone because when I go out and do like a film photography day of shooting, it's nice to not lug around a big ass DSLR to shoot everything. You know, like to be able to say, hey, I'm leaving the house and I got a Pentax K1000 and a phone, and that's it. It's so nice to travel that much lighter, because that's like, I feel like that's one of the annoying things about going out to like Manhattan or something, when you're doing a review of a camera and then you have to bring the second camera to shoot video of the camera. You know, it's you know, not like I'm always paranoid either, but like the thought of if you get robbed, then you lose two cameras. Like,
Yeah, and that's funny. And I've never had any major issues, but I think about that constantly. It's like, because you're walking around with this giant backpack, and it's like, wait, I have all of my most expensive gear in here
right.
with two
My
cameras,
life is
four
in here.
lenses. Yeah, and it's like, what am I trying to do? A YouTube channel? I could just film with my phone and be out of here.
Well, I think that's what's interesting now is like, you know, every phone is passable in terms of like video and photo quality nowadays. Like, even a shittier, cheaper phone is still gonna look pretty good. You know, it's like pizza. You know, even bad pizza's kind of good, right? Like, and when you're compressing something and uploading it to YouTube anyway, it's like, who's really gonna know? You know, the anecdote I always go back to is like, in the first Avengers movie, they did a pickup shot with the iPhone 5. You know, and that was in movie theaters. So like, hey, if that works, you know, I think it's cool for YouTube.
And sometimes I know, I'll admit, like, I shot some stuff, and even that VHS one, I get so used to using my good camera for some stuff, and in the post editing, and then I got that. I remember I was like, I'm gonna put a LUT on this. You know, I wanted to get, and I was like, oh no, it didn't hold up. It totally started breaking apart instantly, and I was like, oh. So for like someone like me, like, I don't love it, but I do enjoy some of the process of, like, you know, changing the colors, giving it a nice little, I call it a color grade. I don't know what it is. Maybe a color correction in some cases if the white balance is off or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, unfortunately, like, at least with the way I shot that one, it doesn't hold up, and that's where it does kind of get like, oh, we're not there yet. But at the same time, as far as just getting videos out into the world, totally so effective. Like, just the fact that you can have that little phone in your pocket.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, don't ever get it mistaken. Like, I love using cameras, you know, like if I'm going to shoot a short film or something, getting like a C300 or an Ursa Mini or something, like, I love shooting on big cameras and having cinema lenses and the long focus throw and all that stuff. But for like the convenience of like, dude, I gotta make this video and have it uploaded next week, in a couple of days from now, like, especially when you're shooting on your own, like, you need something that's kind of almost autonomous, which I don't know, in terms of like that YouTube kind of, I don't want to say vlogger, because like that's not at all what I am, but like that style of run and gun YouTube stuff, like, you need a camera that can autofocus. You need a camera that, like, in a lot of ways you can just set it and forget it, because like you can either do that, or you can spend half the day wrestling with a camera. Like, that finickiness to me is like a make or break nowadays for me for a camera. Like, if it's gonna be fiddly and annoying, you know, like, that's like my big thing about Sony's is like, as much as I love using Sony's, like, it still feels like their menus are like clusterfucks, you know, and you gotta like thumb through them forever. And even though I've had my A7S since like 2015, and I still feel like I forget where things are in the menu all the time.
Yeah. And so I guess to sum up, that coming out of 2019 into now, obviously the iPhone 11 Pro is on my mind personally, because my buddy just got one and I saw some footage from it, and not to get caught up too much with this phone stuff, but that ultra wide lens, I don't know how familiar you are with it, but basically with that, there's 3 different lenses built into it, and one of them is this ultra wide. I call it ultra wide, but it's really wide angle, and it is for what certain uses, it is amazing. Like, I'm just like, this is it. Almost. He shot a whole wedding with it. I was pretty impressed with the footage. It was definitely limited to, he had to make sure it had light. It needed light. It doesn't really do well in darkness, but it's interesting. I haven't jumped though. I'm still using my iPhone 6, and I'm happy with that right now. But that's going into the new year. That's the first thing on my mind, because I'm like, man, if I could ramp up my video stuff for YouTube and limit all the excuses of like, oh, I wish my quality, mostly it's not even the quality at this point. Now I'm just realizing it's the ease of use, knowing that I always joke, but like, the best accessory I have for my phone is none, which is like, I bought all these things over the years. Like, I have the Moondog anamorphic lens, and I got all these little like adapter cases and cages and stuff, and I don't ever take them because I just want a phone in my pocket. I don't want
Right.
a lot of extra things. But with that iPhone 11, I'm still just waiting it out because it's pretty freaking expensive. So trying to make the most of my iPhone 6.
Absolutely. So on that note, like going into 2020, what's the goal? What do you see for your channel like this year?
I'm trying to completely, like, this is like a psychological thing where I mentally am stuck in 2010, where it's like right at the beginning of when I started really rolling out YouTube videos, 2011. And I have to remember, I'm trying to just live in the reality that that era isn't there, at least with, I would say, the content, the way people are online watching videos. They're watching it differently. There's a lot more creators. And for years, I've just sat there like, oh, I was going to do a video on that. And it was a lot of like would've, could've's. And it just kind of unmotivated me to make more. So going into this year, I'm like, all right, this is the state of the world we live in. There's a lot of creators on YouTube. And I know I talked to you a little bit about this. And they're not just on YouTube. They're like across the board. They're Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. And there's tons of places that people are consuming media. And so the attention span's a lot shorter in some areas. The amount of information they can even take in, you think about how many hours are in a day. All that to say, I'm like, all right, I'm going to live in reality and try to not be mad at the way things have changed and just be like, all right, this is the new thing. I want to still make videos I enjoy and do them the way I want, but I can't get upset if it only gets 150 views, where that's what, those little things like that over the years would bug me because I'm like, what the heck's going on? I have so many subscribers and I'm not getting any views. But then when I sit down and watch my video, I'm like, well, I don't even really want to watch this, because it's like it was sort of made almost in spite or for the wrong reasons so I'm going to try to get reconnected with my roots and just make videos sort of, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you on the phone before, but like make videos that I already know there's like 5 or 6 people that I've actually had the chance to talk to and interact with, like you and some other people that also are like, hey, when are you making a new video? And I'm like, you know what if I just did it like old school and just made my videos for me and had my little inside jokes with them that they could see in the videos and just let the rest of the audience be the outside audience sort of a thing, in the sense of they can totally jump in and like be a part of it. But if they want, like, I don't have to get caught up with being like, why isn't there thousands and thousands of views about this super niche thing that nobody cares about? You know what I mean? And just be like, oh, I know these 3 guys, they would really think this is cool. And I don't know, it's sort of like sounds like very obvious or common sense, but it's something I got caught up with. It's that amazing thing of those little likes and view counts, man. Isn't it crazy to think if you could look at your videos on YouTube and just see an extra 3 zeros after every one of the views, like how that would affect you mentally? And it's like they could almost do that and you would never know. Like if they did it like as an April Fool's joke for everybody, like everybody had 1 million views on everything.
Oh,
I wonder what that would do to the psyche of everyone.
I was about to say, I think that would do a lot of damage.
Yeah, probably at that point. But it's just one of those. But like, I mean, what about you though? Going into it, I know we talk a lot of different things, and even though you really have a lot more experience with photography, you call yourself and you make films. You're a filmmaker as well. Do you have goals for that going into the new year?
I'm somewhere in the between, I feel. For Sweet Lou Photography, for this channel, the important thing for me is just always improving. Like, Crapshoot kind of is branching off the same idea you were saying about, like, you have, a bunch of subscribers, but the views are, like, lower. Like, a lot of times when I first started doing Crapshoot, I was like, man, I have, like, 4,000 subscribers and 200 views. Like, and at first I was a little discouraged, but, like, I kind of just shook it off, and like I like making those videos. It's on, like, that's my favorite stuff that I'm doing. And I don't think I've mentioned this in a Crapshoot video before, but to me, like, in the grand scheme of things, a year from now, 2 years from now, I'm gonna have like a documentary of my film photography over the course of 2 years, and improving and learning stuff and trying different things and experimenting. So to me, that is tremendously valuable. And in a certain degree, I don't want to sound like this, but it's like I don't care if people don't like it, because
and you're saying like your documentary are all these videos that you have over there. Right. Okay, awesome.
It's like a collection to be able to say, like, hey, 2 years ago this is where I was, and now it's 2020 22, 20, whatever year it is, and now this is where I am. And that to me, like, I feel like there's a ton of value there. Like, I'm a big fan of introspection and, like, looking through your stuff and improving based on what you've already done. Like, if you can't tell by this podcast. So if it's the type of thing where I'm improving and the videos are good and people like them, cool, hell yeah, man. Like, I've had a couple of people message me on Instagram or whatever saying, like, hey, I like your videos, you're funny, and I started shooting film because of you. Like, that's the craziest shit on the planet Earth. Like, the fact that I've gotten any messages like that. So to me, it's just like, I'm passionate about this project. Like, I'm into making these videos, and I'm just gonna keep doing it, but find ways to make them better, make them look better, make the writing better, because Crab Shoot, I never script anything. I kind of just talk kind of like this. So just, like, personally getting better is really important. And on the other channel, the film one, we have a couple of short films that we want to make this year. But the bigger project, which we've been working on for far too long, is the documentary. We've been making a feature-length documentary about the music scene in the Bronx over here. And we are, like, last night, Keith was over here until like 2-3 in the morning, and we got, like, a lot of shit done. And I feel like this is going to be the year, like, we finally put that project to bed. And it's such an important one to me, and it's been moving at a snail's pace. So, like, I'm so stoked to put that one out into the world. So those are, like, the big things for this year.
2020.
It's going to be a big year.
Well, and I know, like, because that was something, I don't know, like, tons of your background with hobbies and stuff, but you were part of a band, right, at some point in your life, and you still stick around that scene and you have that interest, and among other things. But even with the photography and documenting the photography and making your episodes for your YouTube stuff, that was the thing that I know I got in a conversation about this with another friend, where a lot of these YouTubers have people, they don't do it on purpose, but people are tricked thinking, oh, I want to be that guy, I want to be a YouTuber. But the thing is, like, being a YouTuber, being a filmmaker is, I don't know where I'm trying to think where I'm going with this. Basically, just trying to sum up in the sense of documenting the things you're interested in that aren't necessarily filmmaking. You're interested in taking photos. So you're making a short film, which is your episode on photography. And that inadvertently sort of becomes, even though you might call it a review, it sort of is like a little mini movie in a sense, And that's the thing where I think people don't have that understanding of thinking of, like, oh, wow, if I had just documented this thing I'm passionate about instead of just focusing so much on I'm a filmmaker. I don't know if that makes sense or not. I don't know, but it's just something I was reminded of, because I have, like, a lot of different interests. One of them is, like, thrifting and, like, junk and just, like, vintage art, antiques and stuff. And I've always wanted in the back of my mind, like, to film those things. And I feel like that going into this new year is something I'm going to try to do, because I'm like, I think I'll have more enjoyment because I'm not going to be making films about filmmaking, right? Where it's like this weird meta thing of, like, I'm making a quote unquote, because I'm trying to have really good cinematic lighting and stuff for this conversation about this camera. And it's like, what if I actually just use the camera and just made the thing cinematic that has nothing to do with filmmaking? It's the story. Make a story. Anyways, I don't know. It's sort of like, I'm still trying to figure out the best way to word that. But, like, I think about that where it's like, I think of, like, Casey Neistat and stuff. Like, his movies were about things he was interested and passionate about. And It's like, they weren't about him making movies. It was about his passions. And I feel like there's some people, and even for myself as well, I get caught up with, like, the numbers and the view counts and how famous they are and how they're known as a filmmaker. And it's like, it's not because they're talking about the equipment, it's because they're making films. Anyways, I'm solving problems nobody's having except myself. So
I think that's, like, something that a lot of people struggle with. Like, I mean, I'd be lying if I said that, like, the numbers don't get me every now and then, whether it's like, holy shit, 4,000 subscribers, like, that was a huge deal to me. Or, like, on the flip side, like, sometimes when it feels too low, like, it's hard to, like, that shit can really get you down sometimes. Like, I mean, I think I texted you about it the other day that, like, I had a comment and I was like, oh, fuck, man. Like, my soul.
That really bums you out. Well, and I know, like, even, not that I feel like I'm that great or anything, but even the video that you and I did together that you edited really awesome with that little camera that's a beer can. I was like, oh, I'm gonna share this out with my people, and they're gonna get tons of crossover. And it's like, it's not, it doesn't have a lot of views, and I don't want to say it's a bad video for any reason other than it's not captivating people's attention for some
Yeah.
reason. And I'm like, well, reality check. I don't have that many people that really care about my stuff. Maybe that's what I'm assuming. And
I care. So,
but it
there
is
you
good
go.
though, because you
Number
do
one
have.
fan.
Thanks, I do appreciate that. But I know that, and I do every once in a while log in and look at the numbers because you'll have other videos that have huge numbers. And have you ever thought about like those videos that are like camera review videos that might get a little bit more view count just because people are interested in like a new product, that you sort of do that, like, okay, this is sort of the work I have to do, so all of these people will eventually watch my movie that I really want to make. I mean, do you ever think about that like that, in the sense of those, I would say, more generic reviews
If
compared
I'm
to?
being completely honest, I don't like. I very rarely think long term about the channel, and that might be my problem. Um, but the biggest thing about the reviews is like I try to make them as like real world and honest as possible. Like I can't stand that whole like, oh, Canon bought me to say that the EOS RP is not a paperweight. You know, like, so because I think the second that shit happens, like, the credibility's gone. Like right now, like Fuji let me borrow 2 cameras, but at the same time they were like, hey, say whatever you want, I don't care. Like, if I have problems I can contact them and ask them questions, but ultimately it's my thing. Like if I want to say the X Pro 3 is a hipster piece of garbage, like I can. And that's important. Like, whereas not trying to spill some tea or anything, but like there are some YouTubers that like they'll swear by Canon no matter what, and like, yo, Canon's been doing some weird shit lately. Like they just announced the 1DX Mark III and then flipped around and said, hey, we're not making EF lenses anymore. Like, bro, you just made a flagship with that mount. Like, why?
Yeah, sometimes I think that they're just like, because they have like all the technology a couple years in advance, and they're sitting on a bunch of inventory. They're like, let's just release this camera we were going to release 5 years ago, and then we never got around to it, and get rid of them all. And that's why I feel like there's about 5 years behind, I feel like, with everything.
Right.
But yeah.
And the 1DX is crazy. Like, there's so many cool features with it, but like at the same time, it's like $6,000 or something like that, 5-6 grand, and it's like, dude, like, cool, but sports photographers, I'm sure, are gonna love it, but that is not a camera that people like me and you are gonna go run out and buy. Like, my car has got 130,000 miles on it. Like, that's going in that direction, honestly.
Yeah, it definitely is a weird time with camera stuff in general. Like, I know I'm looking at specifically video production gear with photography gear, or like with the cameras and stuff coming from Canon and all these other companies. But like this past year, and then going into this year, I'm just like, you know what? I just got to sit a couple of these years out, because I'm like, the fact that, like I mentioned before, I'm shooting videos at least for the productions I'm doing. I'm shooting stuff on my iPhone 6. I'll use the Filmic Pro app if I really want to have full control over some of that stuff. I actually just shot in last year. It's not the highest quality video stuff, but I shot a 2-camera shoot, and I had my old T2i Canon camera with a vintage Olympus lens that I ran as a second camera for close-ups, because it had such a nice shallow depth of field, and it looked I think it looked pretty good, because it doesn't have that super new HD high detail. It made everyone kind of look a lot prettier than they really did, probably, because that's where the harshness comes. And I know that everyone has their own specialty things that they need to film, but I'm like, I'm using a camera. I don't know, when was the T2i? 2011 that came out? And
It sounds about right, somewhere around
and
there.
This was like a paying gig that I did for like high level production for a school, like a boarding school. And so like I felt like I was confident enough to use that camera, and that's like whatever, an 8-year-old camera. So anyways, all that to say, it might not look super fancy because it looks kind of like blah, it's just a little teeny DSLR sitting on a tripod. But other than like not worrying about the show factor of these cameras, I'm like, I don't know, like the new stuff that comes out, it's kind of neat, a couple extra bit rate and stuff. Like, okay, whatever.
That kind of makes me think of something that we spoke about on the phone before, though. We had this conversation of like the tightrope between, you know, just wanting gear versus like that idea of like the best camera is the one you have on you. And you had mentioned when we were talking about that, this idea that it's like somewhere in the middle of that stuff, right? Like the idea that like, while you don't need a new camera necessarily, like it might be the thing that gets you excited about shooting.
Yeah. It was
And
yep.
it's kind of funny because like I strongly agree with that sensation, that feeling, you know, because you know it's easy to get caught up in, oh my god, this new camera's out, I want this new camera. Like it's so easy to get suckered into that, but at the same time, like that I'm using the X Pro 3 by Fuji now, and it makes me want to shoot more. Like it's just the kind of thing. It's like, hey, can we go out and shoot? Like I'm just like, so I'm like itching to do it because I just really love the system. And I don't know, maybe that's not the best advice either, to be like, oh, just go buy a new camera. You know?
Well, that's
But
honestly, I feel like that whole idea of like the best one. I think I totally agree with the best camera is one you have. But I would add a but to it because it goes back to the why. Like, why are you even making videos? Why do you want to make a video? And it goes back to, like, for me, I think you might have the same thing. I like vintage cameras. I'm from the era where Polaroid cameras were actually like a new thing, you know? So like the idea that the textures, like the clicking buttons, the actually holding a camera like that and using it. I can use an app on my phone that simulates it, but it doesn't give me those textile like reactions and like stimulus, you know, like that. And so for me, that's this other avenue for me personally that I enjoy. Other people might not have that, but that's where I'm like, that's the but, where it's like, but if you enjoy these vintage cameras, you know, like I think of the old like I don't have any specific model, but like the classic thumb winding 35 millimeter cameras where it's like zzz, click. Like that is such a cool feeling to do that, even though the photos might be blah, you don't even know if they're exposed right, and you can replicate it with a phone. I'm like, yeah, but when I go to shoot my phone, it's like it's just a phone. Like, so I think, yeah, going on that's where I'm like, I remember getting I had the T2i, then I got the 60D. This is all for video production, by the way, but suddenly it went from no flip out screen to now I have a flip out screen, and I was like, ooh, and I installed Magic Lantern software to help make the camera more of a video camera.
yeah,
With functionality and stuff like this. And I was like, this makes me want to go film stuff. Now it still had some limitations, but with the limitations were it had a lot of manual functions, and I realized, man, I really miss the just autofocus. Just point it at something, shoot it, and you just like from the old VHS days. But yeah, I know I'm on that stance of saying, obviously every person has different things specifically they need, but I think a camera or equipment that you really genuinely enjoy using, that's going to motivate you to do more. At least it has for me. So that's where I don't agree with just don't worry about gear. It's like, no, because I know for years, I mean, I used the T2i. It was pretty monumental at the time for 2011. Finally, this idea of shallow depth of field. But that camera, I hated using it. Because mostly because a lot of the manual settings I never really had. It was the first time I suddenly was like, oh, now I actually do need to know what ISO is and how it works, because I learned about it. I went to school for video production, but we never really, I don't know, for me personally, I never really locked in on it because most of the cameras even then were still kind of they had auto settings. I would just switch those, but I never really enjoyed using my T2i that much. And all the stuff I learned with it, I realized, well, crap, I'm learning so much how to use this, but I want someone to film me with this camera. And I would hand it to my friend, and he would just be like, what am I supposed to do? I'm like, you know what? Just try to make it focused. And they would always miss focus. It's so hard to focus. But, yeah, like, but that kind of thinking of that with the photography, like, you have specific cameras you enjoy using, right? Like, do those affect you mentally to want to go and take photos or not?
oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like if there's like the Polaroid Snap Touch has been the butt of a bunch of jokes on this channel because I hate that camera. Like it's awful. And that's one of my first reviews too, and it's got a lot of thumbs down because I didn't have a good like voice at that point. Like I didn't really know what this channel was, but I
Yeah.
still stand by it. Like in that video, I said that camera fails at being both modern and retro. Like they add all
Okay.
these modern features into a camera that's supposed to be retro, and they just miss the boat on both of them. Like it doesn't feel like either. It feels like just this failure. So like when I was making that video, I was so like irritated most of the time I was shooting it, and it just made me dread like, oh god, I gotta go shoot more for this stupid video. Whereas on the flip side, like shooting on the GA645, and literally I would finish a roll of film and be like, hey, you got any more of that film? I need to go shoot some more right now.
Yeah.
But I think that's really important, is like when you find a camera or whatever it is that makes you happy and like makes you want to produce more, like fuck yeah, go crazy. And as long as you're like going out there and making stuff like some wise YouTuber told me to do,
Go make something.
I think that's all that really matters.
Well, I got caught up, and that's where like that VHS app. I found that because I realized a while back. I was like, wait a second, I'm obsessed with these Super 8 millimeter cameras and the idea of film. And when I was a real little kid, there were still like photo mats around, and I remember my dad would shoot some film of the family, and then he would go take it and get it developed, and we'd watch it back on a projector. It's like 3 minutes of just, oh, rewind it, oh, cool. And so I mean, I was really young, so it's just very faint memories of that. But when I got old enough to actually start making videos, it was all VHS and VHS-C and high 8, and these tape. And I realized I'm not. This is my film. This is my era. Is VHS. And so I had this weird like thing of like I'm gonna buy a VHS camera and try to shoot some stuff on VHS. And there's a YouTube guy. I can't think of his name. His name is like his channel name is something like weird Tom or weird Jerry or something like this. And he kind of is a self-proclaimed the very first vlogger, and I would say he might be because he posts VHS videos of him from the 80s of him vlogging.
It's
And,
kind of crazy.
yeah, and you'll track him down, or maybe I'll send you a link. It's kind of neat, but when I was watching it, I mean, he's still, and this is where he's all in, where he still shoots and edits his videos in analog VHS, like, and then uploads it to digital, or like transfers it to digital and then uploads it. So it's
I
like
could not
legit.
imagine.
And when you watch his videos, it's like it's 100% like this is not the VHS app, But
Right.
I realized when I watched, I'm like, oh wait a second, I don't want to go. I'm not this passionate about it because then I suddenly remembered. Oh yeah, I do remember when I got the camera, I wanted film depth of field. And it didn't have that, and it just had. And so there was like this mixed memory of like, well, I loved the idea of making the movies, but I never was happy with VHS and how it bled. The reds always would bleed into the other colors, and if you made a copy of a copy, it would be even worse.
Right.
But before that, I would say enlightenment, I bought a camera, and it was the last of the era. It's a Panasonic camera. It's a small little handheld handycam style camera that records on an SD card. But it's the last model that shot in 480, 640 by 480 resolution, that standard def. And so other than the actual, it doesn't have what you'd get with a tape recorder, like a VHS tape with the static and the fuzz that sometimes happens when that tape stretches. It does have that lo-fi visual look where it just is this weird optical thing where it like overlaps, around windows and stuff. It just doesn't handle the light well, so it does this weird refraction. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy this camera. This is like months of research. This is stupid. But I shot some stuff with it, and I was like, this is really bad. And it looked exactly like what I remember. I'm like, oh yeah, you go into a room, and everything looks yellow because the lighting's a little warmer. And I'm just like, and this is like the final realization where I'm like, I don't think I can do it. Like, I was like, I'm not so passionate about it that I'm going to film hours and hours of really amazing stuff. But I love the psychology of like, oh, that'd be cool to make like a VHS style movie now, sort of like how they make black and white movies now, kind of like as. And anyways, all that to say, this is like my little journey of going through this where I'm like, all right, I watched an interview. This guy was saying like, what's this obsession with Super 8 film? He's like, if we had, 35 millimeter film back in those days, we would have used that. Like we wouldn't use Super 8. It was all we had available and it was cheap. And he was just kind of saying with the DSLR stuff, he's like, man, why wouldn't people want the best cameras? And I'm like, well, okay, he's a little bitter old man. But I could see some of it because when I was going back, I'm like, there's a reason like people just talk different in the 80s. Like everything was different back then. And I'm like, I don't need to relive it necessarily, but I still have the cameras. They came to mind 'cause as you were saying that. I was just looking over and thinking of that. I'm just thinking of I do like the idea of holding it and like filming stuff and then dealing with it later. But man, do I love filming something and posting it and getting reactions right away, like on social media. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know why I was fighting this for so long.
Well, I think ultimately me and you are on the same page of just getting out there and doing stuff. Like I feel like that's why I was drawn to your channel in the first place. Like it's really, your filmmaking videos were always super inspirational to just get up and go do shit, go make things. And like that's my hope with my channel too, like with the crapshoot series and stuff like that, that it's just like, hey, go make stuff. Like nothing's gonna be perfect, and I think that's like the biggest attitude that I'm bringing into 2020 is I'm just gonna go make stuff. And that's the goal, as always.
And you're still, are you going to be watching the numbers? How I know you went over 4K, right? 4,000 subscribers on your channel.
Yeah, I'm like 4,500, something like that.
Ooh, big.
I try to not be obsessive with it.
Is it going to affect you going into 2020? How are you mentally trying to prepare for that?
Like I said, I just want to be better.
Yeah.
I don't want to like get like I want to keep ego and shit in check. I think that's really important too. Like you shouldn't be like, oh well, world famous YouTuber, like. So I feel like it's gonna be business as usual, just ever improving. Like little things, audio quality, stuff like that. Like the refining the process, but still at its core, keeping the channel what it is and not. I feel like I found the voice for the channel and I don't want to lose that. So I just kind of keep doing my thing. I got my Google Doc with all my ideas in it and I just chop them off as we go.
That's super cool. And I know, like, thinking back to how, you said that you saw some of my videos, and I don't know how, I forget how we first interacted, but then I saw some of your videos, and I'm realizing too the reality of anyone I know from YouTube in the YouTube world are because of videos that were made either by me or by them. That's the thing of like the other side of the importance of just going out and making something, quote unquote. Even if it gets 2 views, it's that one of those 2 views could be that guy that's like, wow, that's really good, man. You seem to be really passionate about that thing. And then you guys, you become friends or whatever. And then who knows what like kind of opportunities and stuff could come from that. And just even if it's just motivating each other to do more stuff like that. And it's funny because I have to say it out loud because in my mind I forget because I'm like, oh yeah, go make something. But it's like I have tons of ideas for videos. I could go on and on for hours about all the ideas I've had, but I have nobody emailing me or texting me about an idea of a video that I had. They've only talked to me about videos I made or, same with like the stuff you've done, how it affects people. It's the stuff you've finished.
I think that's it, man. Like, just gotta get out there and do it. I feel like that's the advice for literally everything. Like, you want to be a filmmaker, go make a film. Like you want to play guitar, like buy a shitty Squire and figure out how to play Green Day. Like.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just getting older, but I know there's this huge insurgence. I don't need to go on about this. I know we've been chatting for a little while, but like this whole TikTok thing has sort of taken everybody, at least for me, it's kind of knocked me off my feet for a second. 'Cause I'm like, wait a second. This is kind of crazy because I thought it was a ridiculous app, but it seems to have a lot of opportunities where I'm seeing people that are really, they have a lot of following, big following, 20,000 followers, 60,000 followers. And their videos are like, yeah, I just started this a month ago. And I'm like, wait, time out. You started this a month ago and all you're doing is these aren't like hoochie mama, girls or something. Like they're just like doing goofy stuff. And of course there are some nice, like attractive people, but it's not like raunchy stuff. And I'm like, wait a second, this is different than other apps. Like, and I took a screenshot of it. I don't know if I sent it to you, but there's this guy I follow. He's really funny. He's a FedEx driver. He does these little skits and jokes about his experiences and just life and stuff. Well, I clicked the link from his TikTok account, which he has 60,000 followers, jumped over to YouTube, his YouTube channel. And he has all of his videos uploaded there too, sort of like an archive. and it's a dusty archive because literally the videos have 0 or 1 view on all of them. Going through his account though on TikTok, he's got like 60,000, 100,000, 200,000 loops on these videos. And I'm like, guys, hello. It's sort of like kind of going to the thing of what you said, go make a film. I'm like, yes, definitely make a film, but worst case scenario or best case scenario, make a 6-second skit. That's original, right? Because if you think about it, you're going to make a 30-minute movie or like a feature-length movie. You're going to take in some influence from other movies. You might even completely copy a movie, right? Like I know I had a lot of friends that remade The Matrix back in the day, like
Hell
stuff
yeah.
like that, Jedi, Star Wars stuff. But like, it's actually kind of hard because I saw a lot of really funny ones. I'm like, I want to make one. And I sat there and I'm like, I don't know. And I realized, so that's my new philosophy of like, make a 6-second film, then make a 10-second film, then make a 30-second film. Like, no one ever has really, I've heard talk about that because it is Vine. It sort of stimulated this idea where it's like, you can tell a really funny story in 6 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Oh my gosh, 60 seconds. That's a cinema, right? But
Dude, maybe that's the challenge for your channel this year. Like, make a 6-second film and tag it #Knoptop6 or something.
it's probably going to happen. I know I was because there's a couple of those old, the Vine app. It was a 6-second looping video, and that started where I'm like, it's possible because you think of the Sunday comics. Those are like 4 panels, and it went da 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 da. There's your story done, and so that kind of proved the reality that it is possible. And then also all the videos that were out there. But yeah, TikTok in the sense of getting responses. Obviously, because of the platform, you might have to hack the system a little bit differently than you would like a feature film, but that's where it's like, who knows? Like if somebody, I know I was telling you this, but I'm like, I would prefer if you made original stuff, but if you just started chopping up some of your videos, like, I'm sorry, it's off the top of my mind. I can't think of it. Where you go out with your crapshoot series and you just shared 15-second segments of that. It would be amazing to think you could have a whole entire audience of younger people that are like, oh yeah, I like that crapshoot series. And they've
like
never
crap
seen you on
guy.
YouTube. But they've, you know what I mean? But just thinking like most of the, I would say the majority of the audience are younger people that they don't have an hour and a half to spend on YouTube. They're spending an hour looking at 15-second skits and movies and little memes and stuff. But so that's my new medium of like, okay, any filmmaker, it's sort of that thing of like, yeah, go make something. What is it? If you can prove that you can do a little bit. I think if there's some people, they can take on a full hour-long feature because they're just that kind of a person. But I feel like those Christopher Nolan's type of people that are going to be out there in the world, they're far and few. So in the meantime, make a 6-second movie. Yeah, I think I like your idea. Maybe I'll do that.
You should.
I don't want to make too many promises. What was my resolutions for the year? Right, like that was the theme of this podcast. Resolutions. I'm gonna try to live in reality, which is TikTok is blowing up, and I feel like there's no reason for, even if you're just gonna re-upload old YouTube videos to it and make it miserable for everybody, at least do it because it's just like it could be one more person that's like, hey man, I'm in town. You want to borrow some video equipment? Like I don't know, not that that's the reason to try to get free stuff, but like just the networking of like meeting new people.
Yeah. I think that's like the best part of this whole thing is like the connections you make with people and, how photography and video stuff can really bring people together. I mean, like we wouldn't know each other if it wasn't for this. So.
No, and I was laughing because I know I've been kind of putting the pressure on. I have like 4 people that I'm really putting the pressure on with this TikTok crap. Because who knows, a month from now I could be like that. I don't even log in. But I saw that you posted a little skit.
I did.
That didn't make it into your actual episode.
It did. What's funny is like I wanted to do it on both, but it was so difficult for me to film that without laughing like an idiot. So I ended up like we got the one on the phone and we just couldn't replicate it on the camera. So I was like, you know what?
So gross.
Sweet Lou Photography TikTok exclusive.
Here's how this works out. And this is, man, thanks everyone for listening this far. If you made it this far, this is the bonus material. Because here's how this works. And this is why I actually do get excited about this. You could, I think of my friends, they all have like old iPhones sitting in drawers, like iPhone 5s and stuff, just sitting there. So you put in a $30 battery, and now that phone's up to date. You hook it to the Wi-Fi, and you can download this app. Maybe, whatever. Anyways, a cheap phone connects to TikTok. Now you're a filmmaker that has exclusive content, right? On another platform. And I know Instagram sort of is like this, but here's what's crazy, I think. And like, just because depending on when this audio goes up, the video that you're talking about, it's the pinhole camera. You said it was like the best hole or something.
Yeah,
What was it?
that joke, I forgot to add that joke to the video too. It's
But
my
it was,
favorite hole of 2020.
yeah, what was it called? The name of the product?
The Pinhole Pro X 16, 18 to 36 millimeter.
What was? Oh my gosh! Yeah, we'll need to talk about that later. But like, I kind of feel like the episode title should just be the best hole of 2020. But
Yeah, right.
but it was.
Yeah, I
It
should
was
switch it.
Shutter.
Let's
It's not Shutterfly though. What's the name of the actual company that makes
Thingify.
Okay,
Thingify.
Thingify? Not to be confused with Thingiverse, 3D printing stuff. This is Thingify, and it's a metal pinhole lens. I just wanted to update the listeners so they could know.
Oh yeah.
To then go into the archives of the old TikTok and try to track down this nasty skit. We won't no spoilers. But I think, so in a way, so I'm all that to say though, I'm like, that's so cool because you think of like, oh, Hollywood special edition DVD or, like Blu-ray extra. And it's like, well, we create that for ourselves. You have your YouTube video and this special feature that's on your TikTok, or maybe you'll post it to Instagram later, to read,
Yeah.
or Twitter.
You just exploded my mind.
It's that thing of like, I don't know. I have to log in because lately I noticed the last 6 videos I've uploaded have 0 views. I'm like, what's going on? So I might have got shadow banned for maybe something I hashtagged. Who knows? But
What the hell could you have hashtagged?
I don't know. It's so weird though. And I'm like, is this the trick? They get you hooked and then they just go, we're not going to show your videos anymore. But I noticed like the last 5 videos I uploaded, they have 0 views. But that's a side note. But
I need to go watch them right after this.
well, and I know like I'm trying not to get super focused on views, but I just think of the viewers. You think about, you started uploading videos. What year did you start doing YouTube?
Like this
Like the
channel or
uploads.
like in my life?
Oh yeah, I guess you've done other ones. Yeah, let's just say.
There's some cringy ones out there.
Okay, well let's just go back to then. So what year would that have been?
Oh fuck. I mean, for me, probably high school. So like 2000. Let's say 2004, 5, or 6. One of those years.
Okay, let's see. YouTube started in 2005, I think, right?
Then definitely not 2004.
Okay, but yeah, you were making stuff, or you were getting it ready. You were maybe posting it to Vimeo or something. Actually, was Vimeo even around? Who knows?
I
a
was
weird time.
there when there was like the rated 5 stars was the meme.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, whatever the case. So yeah, it goes back, but basically saying like, so as you've grown up, now you're like older and you have like, career and stuff like this. The same as your viewers. And that's what I'm realizing. Like, yeah, great. I grabbed all these viewers back in the day. They subscribed to me. And I still get some comments like, oh, cool. You're still making videos. I used to watch you back in high school. I'm like, oh. And now they're, they're probably heading towards their second child and stuff. And it's just because of the years gone. But it's like, that's where TikTok comes in, where right now, for whatever reason, there's a lot of kids on there. And it's a way of introducing yourself to a whole new generation of people, which I don't really feel. It's kind of like you could do that on YouTube, but guess what? They're not on YouTube. They're on TikTok. The people your age and older are on YouTube still because this is what we're used to. This is obviously a generalization. I know there's tons of young people on YouTube, but because of that whole, like I would call it the shakedown of the monetization of kids content, it's even more reason for kids to be like, I just want to hang out on TikTok and watch people dance and try to learn some stupid dance move and do it so my friends can see it at school tomorrow. Like you don't get that same interaction instantly on YouTube. So it makes sense that it would be kind of fun. Like I'm thinking back, like, yeah, I guess it could be really terrible. If you think you're dating somebody, then you see their TikToks like 6 million subscribers. And it's like, stop being so hot in front of all these strangers. But like, but I don't know. That's the last of my era where I'm older, where I'm like, I do miss having like those young, sort of like, not in like a I think of a way of like, I don't want to manipulate anybody, but it's like, it's
Yeah.
so cool to have these young minds. And it's like, here's a way of inspiring a whole new generation that aren't totally burned out yet. And the cool thing is, you could probably do some jokes that are old to you and they'd be brand new to them. I guess that's where enter the dad jokes. But like, you know what I mean? Like you could do some stuff like, oh, this is that old skit that Jim Carrey used to do. And they're like, Jim Carrey, who's that? Like
Oh
that's weird to
man.
think that these kids are young enough to, their parents would talk about Jim Carrey movies, anyways. So that's my little excitement level on TikTok. At the same time, it is very distracting if you let it be.
Yeah, I find the app to be like the interface is cool, but it is so intrusive and loud. And like, I can't tell you how many times I've like just opened it like on a whim and the volume was on and you just hear some ratchet music playing really loudly. And it's like, oh God, everyone knows I'm on TikTok. I'm a failure.
Okay, so that is one major thing that I realized too, because I'm home alone. I don't have any kids or any like family around. And when I went home for the holidays, it was like, oh wow, this is actually really hard app to like use because unless you want to walk around constantly with your headphones, that is one of the bad things. Because you need to listen to some of the tracks or music are kind of relevant to how them. And there's some people that they tried to hack the system and they'll have a lot of on-screen text so you could watch it on mute, but that is one of the downsides of the app. It's very loud and yeah, I think if I was surrounded by more people, I would probably have to have a dedicated time.
My TikTok hour.
Yeah, it really would. And ironically enough, because the app lets you have a free pro account, you can look at your analytics and it shows a huge spike around 10:30 p.m. of users. And so, at least with like my content. And so I'm like, yeah, I think that's pretty average where they're just logging at the end of the day because they know that it's going to be like their hour of TV. And our day is going to be their TikTok hour. The TikTok hour. Oh man, I'm not going to, yeah, there's your next podcast.
The TikTok hour.
I'll stop talking about it. I know because I also know that like this goes along with my YouTube. I have video reviews of stuff that I still don't feel, this is an ethical thing I put on myself. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's still in the beginning stages and it is really questionable because like you said, there's some ratchet music and when you really listen to the lyrics, it's like like they're kids dancing to music that I'm like, whoa, I won't even listen to this, let alone dance to it. And it's like, so that there is definitely some side of that where I'm like, I don't agree with that. Like,
Yeah.
especially with like YouTube cracking down on all this other stuff with like videos and how they're doing their marketing and stuff. And it's like, wait, meanwhile, this app's using any music they want and kids are just dancing along, smiling to like gangster rap nasty. I mean, it's like nasty music, some of it. Like it gets pretty raunchy. But it has a cool beat and I almost think that they don't even know what they're singing. I really do. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
anyways.
Interesting, man. 2020 is going to be a dope year for both the channels. I feel it in my bones. So.
Well, I know like you've helped motivate me and I feel like it's about time somebody starts giving me some inspiration around here. But I do feel like that because I know like when I saw you talked about that pinhole camera and then I just saw that you posted the video. I'm like, man, you did it, man. Because I know it takes hours to edit that junk. Like, and I kind of put it off. Now, I do make videos. That's the thing. I work for a guy, Peter Schriepel, and that's the one thing I always want to feel like I am making videos. They're just not my personal stuff, but I do have enough interaction with the production side of it that I have a lot of say in it. So I feel like I'm not completely, even though I don't upload to my channel, I know some people just are like, where are you at? What are you doing? I feel like, well, I'm still in it, but it's almost just as bad because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, this is how I would do it if it was my video. And I'm thinking, wait, I can make my own video. What am I doing? But anyways, yeah, it's super cool to see. Like usually, because you do once a week, right?
Yeah,
now?
give or take.
And now with this podcast, you said this podcast is just once a month?
We're non-committal here at Sweet Loop Photography.
Man, who knows? I mean, just because I know I do enjoy, I don't have as much of a drive commute, but depending on the topics, I think, I don't know how you said you were going to do this. I know you sent me the thing that said this is like the New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. And I think it's a good thing to talk about what you want to do, but not go into detail about everything because that's where show me, prove it. So it was 2019 was my phrase. I'm going to take my motto into 2020, which is prove it. And not in like a sarcastic way, but that's like, because there's just, even for myself, Great. You have a good idea? Prove it. Prove that you're going to do something with it. Send me the link to the video. Right. So that's my thing.
Hell yeah, dude.
Vacations and diets. Talk about it after it happens. I don't want to hear about it until then. Like,
dude,
add
that's
that
killer.
to the list.
I like that a lot. Hell yeah, dude. Well, listen, man, thank you so much for joining me on this first episode of whatever this is. I really appreciate it, dude. And for those of you who are still listening in this, I said, hey, let's make this like 15, 20 minutes, and it's like an hour.
No, you let me elaborate. I appreciate it.
Hey, man. Go on. I also said whatever feels right, so, it felt right. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, do you dig this long form style stuff? Is this cool for you to consume here? Do you want it on SoundCloud? Do you want me to be a SoundCloud rapper? Whatever works for you. But hey, there will be more of these episodes in the future. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed kind of a almost behind the scenes look at both of our channels. And of course, Dave, Knoptop, where can people find you? Where should they look for you?
Oh, TikTok, right on TikTok. No, right now, KNOPTOP handle on my YouTube channel. I haven't switched it over to my actual name. I think I'm going to just ride it out until retirement. Knoptop on YouTube, and then from there, there's all the links to all the different stuff. But I appreciate you having me chat about these things and having an opinion.
And of course, all of Dave's stuff will be in the description below and in the comment and all that fun stuff. Make sure you go show him some love because his videos are absolutely iconic. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. All right, bye.